I'm Liz Larson.
And I'm Bill McKenna.
And together, we created the Cognomovement system. And we'd like to welcome you to the New Life Perspectives radio show,
where we're going to be sharing with you tools, tips, and ideas that are going to change your life.
Hello, hello in UK Health Radio Land. I'm Liz Larson, and I'm here with my friend,
Bill McKenna.
Hey, Bill McKenna. And we are the hosts of the New Life Perspectives radio show here on the UK Health Radio. And we just happen to be the pair that created the Cognomovement system. And we are here today with a very special guest, Christian Sundberg. And Christian's book is called A Walk in the Physical. And brace yourself, you guys. This is going to be a wild ride because this is such an interesting story. So welcome, Christian.
Hi, Liz. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
So I'm going to pass this over to Bill. Bill, I know that you wanted to kick this off and wind Christian up and let him go. So I'm going to let you do that today.
All right. Well, everyone, there are guests that come on and then, it's like, okay, we're going to talk or whatever. But I tell you what, I have been so excited to have Christian on. And why? Why, you ask? Why would I be? He has really helped me and everyone else that I've shared this information with has been really helped in their life. What you're going to hear on this show today is going to give you a much deeper understanding of why you're here, what's going on, how did you get here. I know these are far out there concepts, but it will apply to your being, your life, your health. All of it is intertwined. And once I better understood it, I became a little bit more grateful for my physical existence here on the earth. And so buckle your seatbelt. Here we go. Christian, tell us what happened. What happened to you? And go.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. It's really what happened to all of us, not just me. I appreciate very much the welcome. And I want to preface this by saying that everything that I'm going to attempt to share today is totally beyond language, beyond human language. So these topics may sound, woo-woo or far out there, but no, this is a reality. This is a real larger context that we come from and that our human experience exists within. And there is no language on earth that can truly speak to that, because a language is symbols, forms, and our true nature transcends all of the form of earth. Earth is a context that we come to experience, but we transcend that context. So as soon as we open our mouth and try to put words on this, it's just falling far short. So I have to say that first, just as a very broad disclaimer. Okay, so now I'll dive right in. And I know this may sound a little strange, but I'm just gonna dive right in. So right now my body is 41 years old. And when I was 30 years old, I had memory return to me spontaneously about a time before I was human in this life, before I had accepted this life to be Christian. And I had this memory when I was a very small child, like leading up to the ages of maybe 6 or so. And then that memory left me completely. So I had no memory of this at all. And then when I was 30, I took up a long-term meditation practice and I had no expectations of that. But after a few months, I began to have non-physical experiences, out-of-body experiences that were very brief at first, but very eye-opening. And along with that, I also began to have this pre-birth memory return to me. And when it did, it was the most normal thing in the world. It was not exceptional. It was not, it was not like this incredible epiphany. It was like someone had just brushed leaves off the ground and there it is. And it's like the most normal thing ever. Okay. So I remember a long time ago before I had ever been physical, before I had had any physical incarnations, any physical experiences, coming across a being who had been physical. And this being I can only describe as a being of light. And I felt from, okay, so because it's not language, we don't speak with words. There's like a telepathic communication, a telepathic exchange that naturally happens between us. And I could feel from him this incredible, and again, words are so paltry here, but this incredible power and joy and freedom in the nature of his essence, and who he was. And I asked him, my goodness, what could you possibly have done to be this? And do you feel as much joy and power and love and freedom as I feel like you feel? And he shared with me, yes. And I felt the depths of it within him. And I asked him, my goodness, what could you possibly have done? And he shared with me that he had lived physical lives. And he shared one in particular in which he experienced a health ailment of some kind, a pain or sickness or injury. I don't know exactly what it was, but there was a pain that persisted with him for a long time. And the way that this being chose to meet this pain and this limitation allowed a refinement, is the best word I can think of his nature, of his being. And I was so inspired. I was just like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. And he responded kind of like, almost like in a playful way, like, yeah, that's what they all say, like brushing me off. Like, no, you don't know how hard it really is. And I said, no, I mean it. I want to do that. I don't want to be physical. And he said, well, go talk to your guides. So, okay, so I'll jump a bit. The majority of this pre-life experience that I'm sharing is of a time immediately preceding this life. So I had lived many times. And so I was in a state where I was taking a long break from a previous experience. And I remember this guide coming back to me over and over again, asking, are you ready to go back yet? Or are you ready to go back yet? And putting him off and saying, no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready yet. And finally being like, okay, I'm ready. And then reviewing with this guide, what I can only describe as my state, like who I am, who I had been, maybe the qualities that I knew. I don't want to use the word developed, but the things that I had experientially known and grown through. And it was very obvious, the thing I needed to work on. I don't like the words work on because that makes it sound like a task, but there was one thing that was glaringly obvious that would be best for me to integrate. And it was an extremely low vibration fear. And this fear had bested me in a previous physical experience. And in that previous physical experience, I had died an agonizing death because of the fear. It had led me down a path that was very difficult. And I had caused a lot of damage to other people in this experience. So I was very excited to want to re-engage that. And so they brought me a physical lifetime that would be very appropriate for this intention of mine, to meet this very low vibration fear. And I reviewed this life in incredible detail. And it wasn't this current life as Christian. It was just immediately before this. And this life was extremely appropriate for my intention. Okay, so then I remember accepting this life and the moment of having to surrender myself to what I can only call the veil. It's just a term that we use. The veil meaning the constraints that go along with being physical, with being incarnate, being having a body and being bound to the limitations of being physical. And this process of accepting the veil was very, very shocking. It was like going from a very, very high vibration place down, lower, into a state where my knowing was cut off and my connectedness disappeared. I like to describe it like an amplifier, like if an amp produces a pitch like, and then you turn the knob down, and then when you get to the bottom, you turn it down some more, and then you turn it down some more, and then more, and then keep cranking down. That was what it felt like in the body of my awareness to come down, all the way into this physical, limited perspective where my knowing was gone. And I felt like everything that I was had been removed. It's very hard to describe this. And when I reached this place, so I was in the womb, okay, for this physical life. But within moments, I was like, I am not doing this. This is so dark. This is so low vibration. There is no way I'm going to do this. I'm not going to tolerate this. So I summoned my might, my strength, and I fought my way out. I smote the veil and I pushed my way back out to the other side. And I was successful at doing that. But I had inadvertently killed the fetus. I had killed the body that was to be my body. And I had a life review, just like near-death experience was described. I became aware of how I had affected everyone in that life. Even though I had never been physically even born, I knew that I had heaped difficulty on the poor mother, and how her experience would be much more difficult now because of the grief I had led her to experience. And not only her, but that how hundreds of other people in ripples out from the mother would be negatively impacted by my fear. And I had all these great intentions going in, but I could see very clearly, oh man, I have a lot of fear. I really got to do something about this. So feel free to interject before I keep going, but
that was you wouldn't think it, on the surface, right? That somebody that hadn't even been born yet would have a life review like that. And amazing that you could really feel that what happened to everybody else. So, so did that give you a sense of guilt or grief or?
No. Okay. So it's a sense of responsibility more than anything. From that side, it can be seen that everything is well. It's just a play. Everything's fine. There's not a real problem, but I could just see very objectively, like the data is all there. Like I knew that I caused this, and it's up to me to decide what to do with it. But there's no hiding. I could see how my fear impacted the mother and many other people. And I had so much love and respect for these other players in the game. I really wanted to help and contribute and participate in this incredible opportunity of being human. But I had only caused this difficulty instead because of my own fear.
Wow. Did you meet the people that you were going to incarnate with? Because all time is one back then. Do you have any memories of meeting that mother, that you were with there, or any of the other people?
No, I don't have any memories of meeting the mother, but I will say before this life, which I'll speak to momentarily, before this life, I do remember reviewing my father and mother in great detail. So I was focused on their human characters, but I also knew them as the players, the souls who were being the human characters. They're not just the humans. The human is just, this character they're playing for a while. And I felt their qualities. And I even became aware of when they first met. And so I had that context. I knew that context before I had even agreed, to come in and have the experience. But I don't remember meeting them. It's possible, but it's not a complete memory. There, of course, I'm still very much failed. But what I do remember is, reviewing their qualities and then how their qualities would impact me as a part of this life. So I'll just jump into that, I guess. So I knew that my father would instill a confidence in me in this life, and that confidence would be paramount for me to have the strength and like a rock to stand on to meet this fear when it arose. And I knew that, and I knew my mother would be very loving and supportive. And so that was very important to the context of, of this life as Christian.
So did you know at that time that you would face the health issues that you faced? So we're up against a commercial here in just a moment, but after the commercial, maybe we could jump into that. So you can answer though, did you know that you would have a health crisis in this lifetime? Was that part of the plan?
Yes, in my case, it was for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So let's take a break and hear from our sponsors at UK Health Radio, and let's dive right back in to the health issues that you had and then what subsequently happened. So UK Health Radio, take it away. And we're back. So we were talking about the fact that you knew there would be health issues in this life. So pick up the story from there.
Yeah. So after that previous experience that did not come to fruition and that wasted opportunity, they brought me this life. And I knew that this life was not as perfect as the first one would have been, but it was pretty good. It was good. It was good. And I knew, okay, so I reviewed for this life what I can only call a flow chart. It was like if you laid a tree on its side and started at the thick trunk and worked your way out to the branches, I could see all these millions and millions of possibilities about how this life might unfold or how it was likely to unfold. And I knew that it was very likely that in my 20s, my early 20s, I would suffer a trauma that would crush me and give me the opportunity to re-engage this fear. And I knew that it would be biting off something that was, a lot to chew on. It would be a very significant challenge. But from that perspective, this is very hard for the human ego to get our head around here, of course, because we don't like the idea that the challenges may have, benefit to us. But from that perspective, I could see the incredible opportunity of it. And I was super excited at being given the opportunity to face this. And that trauma, how that physically looked, was the beginning of a series of health challenges. It started with a heat stroke in Chengdu, China. I tried to move to China after college. I had lived in Beijing in college. And I spent 4 days in a Chinese hospital, and I was given bag after bag of potassium, and the potassium did something to my nervous system. It just totally fried out my nervous system. And I experienced a physical agony. It's the only thing I can describe that lasted for months, and it would not abate. It was relentless. And I also discovered in the next few years that I have celiac disease. So I had untreated autoimmune response to wheat. I had a spontaneous lung collapse when I was 25 or 26, should be 25, where I had an internal bleed spontaneously into my chest cavity and my left lung collapsed. And I spent 10 days in the hospital with a tube in my chest. And I had other health challenges. I won't go into all of my many health experiences. But that period was very difficult for me. I experienced not only great pain, but perhaps even more importantly, the perception of limitation and the fact that I felt that I could not escape these limitations. I could not escape this pain. And at the time, all that happened was that I became traumatized, because I could not accept or process or feel all that was arising in my experience, the weakness, the pain, the limitation, the struggle. I could not come to terms with it. And I went through several years of EMDR therapy. It's a type of counseling. And through that process, I ended up meeting layer after layer after layer after layer after layer of fear in myself that at first was not even visible. But I found all these layers of fear. And eventually I found my way down to this most utterly terrifying root fear that was connected to everything that I had experienced and was, in fact, the main thing that I wanted to do in coming here, the main vibration that I wanted to integrate. And it was only after doing that and taking up a long-term meditation practice that my spiritual awakening began to occur. And then this pre-birth memory began to return only after I had already gone through the work, so to speak, of integrating these very powerful vibrations.
Wow.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
really interesting and much, me and Liz were just talking today about, the work we do at Cognomovement is all about getting to what we call the core feeling. And the core feeling is that thing that you struggle with over and over. It's like, this is how I feel, right? And, there's whatever that is, that like, it's frustration, anger, hardship, but it's kind of that feeling of that's not so good, like whatever that is, that thing is that what we call that core feeling that all of your life is what we basically we process that. And with that processing of that, then that frees up the person. Imagine what it would be like if I just simply didn't have that feeling I identify kind of as that negative kind of hardship feeling of me.
Yeah, I absolutely resonate with what you're saying. I'm getting chills because that work of finding that core feeling and feeling it, okay, allowing it, fully acknowledging
Yes.
what we're actually experiencing
Yes.
is so powerful. I personally experienced an incredible amount of healing, physical healing and emotional healing in going through that process. And it is very much tied exactly to what the intention for this physical life was for me. And so that is a most powerful and valuable service and a great process. I wholeheartedly applaud that because that's real work. You know, when we can get down in the real, down to the roots and meet what's down there, it truly is liberating and freeing. What we're here to do is integrate experience. That's what we are as spiritual beings. We are integrators of experience. And when we can integrate that which seems the most difficult or the most challenging for us, the potential for expansion that lasts far beyond the end of the physical, because the physical is not going to last. It's temporary. But the physical offers the opportunity, offers the constraint set so that we can do just what you just said. We can find that root and really process it. And there is an expansion of being that takes place through that. It is an incredible opportunity.
So we've discovered really that without that core feeling, that thing that really builds those fence lines in your life, that it's sort of a scaffolding that we're built on. And without it, you become whole. You return to who you really are.
Amen.
Bill and I were talking about this today when you're a little kid, I mean, it doesn't matter what you're wearing or what your hair looks like, or you're like, woohoo, look what I can do. You know, and today you're a unicorn and tomorrow you're a water buffalo. You just are. And then things start happening in your life that add on this and that and the other thing. And that feeling starts to build, and it's who we think we are. When we do the work to remove that, and without it, there is this beautiful emerging of the truth of it, the truth of who you are and what you're meant to do. And so, like you said, it is in no way easy in some ways, and in other ways it's ultimately easy, but to get in there and really do it does take courage. So it sounds like you got in there and did that work. Tell us a little about that.
Yeah. Well, first, I just want to comment that what you just spoke about is really one of the main drivers behind what I wrote in the book, A Walk in the Physical. And by the way, that book is available for free. It's not about money. If you go to my website, awalkinthephysical.com, on the book page, the third link down is a link to the free copy of the book. So through that book, I wish to try to speak to what we really are and what the human experience is within that larger context. Because when we do what you're describing, we will ultimately get back down to, or up to, whatever direction we want to use, what we really are, that true being that we really are. It is in our association with the form, that is with the stories, with the identifications, with the fence, the picket fence, that you just mentioned. That is where we get lost in and mired in pain. Those associations, we grip onto them because we have fear. Fear just means a part of us we haven't fully evolved to, really handle this incredible set of constraints we're dealing with while human. Being human is not easy. I mean, in many cases, it is an extreme set of constraints. It's like the spiritual equivalent of climbing Mount Everest, and then you get here and it's cold and there's no oxygen. And then, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't like it up here. It's cold. Wait, that's because you're climbing Mount Everest. Here you are, you're in the middle of doing it. And so we respond in fear as in the middle of that process. And then we wrap ourselves up in the next story, the next consumption, the next drug, the next person, the next thing. What's going to make me feel better? Next. Always trying to seek the next thing that will fill us. When we drop all of that and actually meet ourselves and what we're actually feeling, meet the present moment for exactly what it is, we let go of our association with that form, which isn't who we truly are, and we move back towards who we really are. Now, ironically, when you find that root fear, that root negative thing that seems like it can't be processed, it will feel not processable at first. It will feel too big for you to handle, to look at, whatever it is. Maybe it's a negative self-perception. Maybe it's a shame. Maybe it's unwillingness to feel something or to be someone or to be seen in a certain way. Whatever that root thing is at the bottom, when you face it, it may feel like a tornado that's going to destroy you. But in fact, when you surrender to it and feel it fully and give it the full love of your absolute feeling and attention, just as it arises, the tornado might pick you up and fling you around and throw you on the ground and smash you. But then it's gone. Then it leaves. And then you find, no, you're not dead. And in fact, you're free. Because now this fear was the limitation, not really the feeling. There's feeling, we think we can't handle so much, so we lock it away. We actually are far deeper than those things that we think we can't handle. There's a small metaphor I use in my book that I'll just mention that I think is pertinent here. So my father in this life, when he was a small child, he was afraid of his closet in his bedroom. And he used to hide under his covers and stare at the closet. And every night he'd imagine the monsters in the closet, and he couldn't go to sleep, and he suffered incredible distress. And one night, after months of this, he said, you know what? This is ridiculous. Whatever's in that closet, I'm just going to let those monsters eat me because I'm sick of being afraid. And he charged into the closet and he pushed his way through the clothes and he sat down at the back of the closet on the floor and he waited for the monsters to eat him. Well, the monsters did not eat him. There were no monsters. And he saw that. And once he saw it, the fear evaporated because there was nothing to ever truly be afraid of. Now, I know it's a difference in scope. But our deepest fears are not dissimilar from that monster in the closet. When we finally go into that root thing and face it all the way, we find there's not actually a monster in there. The problem was our fear, our unwillingness to face and to feel.
So that sounds like an amazing children's story, the monsters in the closet, but it is really such a good analogy. And we couldn't agree with you more about that. When you get back there and find what really the core is, it may be nothing. We have a famous story that we tell about a person's life being ruined by popsicle. She felt totally unloved, couldn't hold on to a relationship because her mom didn't give her a popsicle when she was 4. Well, that's not a logical mind thing. Her nervous system took on an injury. And Bill and I see it day in and day out, where the nervous system decided to turn on fight or flight, shock and grief is a non-thing. It's not a thing. It was something that happened that in any other time during that person's life would have been literally nothing. And then there are real traumas that happens to as well. But we know in our work that it's the nervous system that takes that on and will sometimes pull the fire alarms for what we would imagine as a grown-up, no good reason. So that getting in there and being able to see that thing that feels so overwhelming, it feels like the thing that's going to land on your head and squash you, may be nothing. It may be no monsters. It may just be the back of your closet. It's really a fantastic realization.
Yeah, I really like that story very much. And in the popsicle metaphor, I would say that, there's a negative self-perception that we adopt in that moment we didn't get the popsicle. And then we respond in fear to the negative self-perception because the negative self-perception is not in alignment with the truth of who we really are. We are beings of love and freedom and joy and total creativity. That is our true nature. And when we buy into things that are not in alignment with that, we respond in fear and we set up all sorts of shenanigans to escape that. So when we buy into the perception, I am unworthy of love, for instance, the truth is you are incredibly worthy, or I am powerless. No, you are a powerful creative being, or I'm not free, I'm stuck. No, your true nature is full of freedom. So I'm just pointing that out because sometimes when we find those negative self-perceptions, We really feel the universe, our lives, the popsicle has proven to us that thing. But I'm here to just gently remind, no, our true nature is unlimited and full of love and joy. And this is the place we come to actually entertain potentially that perspective for a while.
Wow.
All right, you guys, this is such a cool conversation. We need to take another quick break for the UK Health Radio Network. And when we get back, Christian said that he'll share, as we do every week, a little something with the audience that you can take home. So we'll be right back. And we're back. So we're talking with Christian Sundberg. What was it you had in mind, Christian, that might be useful to people around this topic?
Yeah. Okay, so before I speak to something specific, exercise-wise, because I know that the human thinking mind likes action, so it's what we do on Earth, I just want to point out something that is pertinent to this as background. Okay. What you are is your consciousness itself, your aliveness itself, your awareness itself. That thing has no real word. There's no definition we can put on it. But I'd like to first draw our attention to that idea, because on Earth, we very deeply become associated with the context of Earth. We become so deeply associated with, for instance, linear time and discrete location. You're over there and I'm over here, and separation. We really think we're separate. We really think I am my name, I'm my sex, I'm my body, I am these things. Okay, that's okay. But I'm putting that in context because really what's happening is you are having an experience of those things and then deeply getting wrapped up within that experience. And where is that experience taking place? It's taking place on and in your pre-existing consciousness. Now, you may not be able to remember before you were born, but that's the veil. That's it's part of the game when we come here, is we tend to lose that there's reasons for that. It's an intentional system. There's benefits to that. But nevertheless, that this consciousness that is here right now, listening right now, this being, this aliveness that you are, is what you really are. Okay. So I'm pointing that out because the location of that awareness is not some other faraway place. It's not like you're trying to get out of your body and go to some place over there. No, your body and this location on Earth is occurring within your consciousness, within your awareness. I like the Eckhart Tolle metaphor of the movie screen, how our consciousness is a movie screen and physical life is all the sensory data and all the thoughts that are playing on the screen. The movie screen never goes anywhere. It's always the screen. It's always made of the same screen. There's nothing ever going wrong with the screen. You might have the most horrific movie playing on the surface of the screen for a while, but when the movie's over, the screen is still the same. That is a good metaphor for the substance of spirit that we actually are. Okay, so I know that may sound a bit abstract, but I think that's important as we take time to just perform this very, very simple exercise. And I'll mention this briefly. Of course, if we had more time, we could get into a more in-depth meditation. But okay, so then what we're doing then to find that movie screen, to find that awareness, is a movement away from thinking and towards the experience of being alive itself, or the experience of being conscious itself. So one thing you can do is lift up your hand. And if you close your eyes, try to identify, how do you know that you have a hand? Now, I'm not pointing the attention towards the feeling of the temperature changes on the skin and all the sensory experience. Just go even a little bit deeper than that. What do you feel when you put your attention on your hand? Or if you direct your attention elsewhere in the body, put your attention into your chest, in your lungs, or into your stomach, or into your knees, even into your feet. How do you know you have that portion of your body? What do you see there? If you look without thinking of a label, and you spend time is key, because here we are in linear time, and we have a lot of momentum, a lot of form association momentum built up because we focus on thinking all day long. But if we let go of that and redirect our attention to that aliveness just for, say, 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes, you will find that that aliveness itself has no boundary, and it is full of life. If you spend enough time and go even deeper, eventually there is something that can happen. And I don't want to tease the ego here, but if you spend enough time with that aliveness without any expectation of result, there is a moment that can happen where there's something of what I would call an inversion, or a flipping can happen, when all of a sudden you become very tangibly aware. Like, I mean, it feels very physical, that that body of your aliveness is much bigger than this dense, small limitation that you've associated with in the form of bodily sensation. And in fact, you are everywhere. So that's just a super bite-sized set of comments, just a little teaser maybe, but I highly recommend that everybody at least take time every day, if you can, to spend time looking there. You're using your intention, you're not thinking about it. Just use your intention to go experience, and you're not making anything up. You don't need any stories. You don't need a new label. You're just going to feel, what is my aliveness? Now, things may rise up. That's okay. But that aliveness is always there and always willing to work with you as you're willing to dedicate the attention and the time to it, back to it. So when I'll just say one last thing, when that inversion, if and when that happens, it is experientially known, not as a new thought, but felt, that we are much, much, much more than the human character. We are not the little stories. We are not our little pains and fears. We are much more. And there is an ocean of joy and peace that is just always there, that rises back up all on its own when we're no longer so deeply associated with the form. When we're not associated with the separation, when we let go, then those larger parts of ourself can rise back up all on their own. It's not something we go get, really. It's that we make the choice to use our intention and spend our time in this way, and then it can rise up all on its own. And I'm telling you what, even just one tiny glimpse of it makes all of the time worth it. It is the most beautiful treasure. There's a wonderful Rumi quote that I absolutely love. It's something to the effect of, you wander from room to room, hunting for the diamond necklace that's already around your neck. And that's what he's speaking about, this rich treasure that already is the being of our aliveness itself.
So I can tell you guys from personal experience, try that meditation. It is so expansive. I've had the experience myself of going into one cell and finding the whole universe inside that one cell. If you look at the images they show of an atom, no one's ever really seen the inside, but if it looks like a universe, and that really is what you find when you get down in there. So everybody give that a try, because it's massively expansive what you can find. So
I'm sorry, I just want to interject one last thought. So when we do that, this ties back to the theme of health.
Yeah.
When we do that, and when we connect with that aliveness, the body thrives. I know we focus on the physical nourishment of the body, and that is important, but the true life that gives rise to the processes of the body is the spirit. It's not the food first or the drink first. It's life itself. And so when we spend time directing our attention back into that life, it is life-giving to the body. And the body may then heal on its own, or perhaps some physical solution may even arise in our experience, maybe a supplement or a person who's trying to help us, something, because now we're more in line with that life itself. So I just wanted to make that comment, that it's not just an abstract thing. There is actually a physical result when we reconnect, when we take the time to reconnect to that life of awareness that we really are.
That's actually, you read my mind. I wanted to go back to, you brought up the health issues. So I wanted to go back to that. What did happen? What did you do that resolved to a greater part those health issues that you had?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I went through EMDR therapy over a number of years. And I found that what was key was the willingness to feel each layer as it arose. I didn't have to go looking for it, because the deeper parts of our psyche are trying to move us towards homeostasis all the time. Our system, both our physical system and our energetic body, is always moving towards wholeness. And so when we're ready to deal with the chunks will arise. And what's key is that we allow ourselves to be willing to face them and feel them without label. That's key. Without a new story, without oh my boy, that's silly. My mom didn't give me a lollipop. How silly of me. No, you felt exactly the way you felt, and you feel it right now. See, there's one big now moment. Okay, all the nows are in one now. So the lollipop moment is happening now. And if you rejected it then, it's rejected now. So in this current moment, if it arises again to be reseen, you are probably ready. And so now when it comes back up, allow yourself to fully feel and just honor yourself enough to fully allow and process however it arises. Now, I went through that process in a structured way through EMDR therapy, but I found that as I did that, the opportunities arise and present themselves because our integration of experience, our healing, is a part of what we're doing here. So the universe works with us, and the deeper parts of ourself work with us when we're ready. So I know that's a general comment to speak to your question, but I do think that's pertinent to simply be willing to meet each moment as it arises. Now, it may mean you're feeling great 1 hour, and then an hour later, wow, you're having a really painful, tough, dark moment. That is okay. Just feel. Don't judge yourself for being depressed or anxious or limited. It's okay. You are a conscious being that is worthy and good and powerful. Don't let anybody else tell you differently. It's okay that you have this limitation, and it's okay that you have this pain. And when it arises, feel it. Now, I still have moments of incredible pain. My neurochemistry is extremely sensitive to everything. And I have moments of neurochemical pain that are so extreme. I'm just saying that because I know how painful it can be. But when that arises, that sensation is a sensation first. It doesn't have to have a label yet. I'm the one who even in the darkest darkness, I'm the one who gets to apply the label. So if we allow ourselves to fully feel it when it arises, that is so powerful to feel it without a label and then guess what? Then it'll move on. Not because you're trying to get rid of it. You don't try to get rid of it. You just allow. And then when you allow, it can pass through and life rises up one step towards you.
What do you think about that, Bill? Feel it.
That's our 2 words, right?
Okay, good.
That's what we do. We have people feel it. And with that, with the movements and the different exercises that we do, it basically vanquishes it, that processes it. And they get new realizations, a new truth out of it, and end up being done. But I love it that you experienced a window into another dimension. What is the ramifications of the work that you did here over there? After you die, this work, if you actually get to process this core fear, this core anger, this core whatever, what happens over there?
Well, I wish we had more time because that is a very substantive question. But I will simply, okay, so this is definitely getting into some topics that are far beyond language, but I'll just at least say this. The substance of spirit is what's real. Consciousness itself is what's real. So when we integrate experience and incredible vibrations, incredible vibrational contexts, we refine and grow, which is the expansion of love and joy. That's what this is all about. This universe is about love. That is the name of the game. It's love. It's not pain. It's love. It's just that a universe of high contrast like this offers an incredible potential for the integration of experience and for the evolution of being through that integration. And we get to take that integration with us. Contrast is just a tool. And this place gives us a rich context to make choices in. And to boil it all down to one thing, the question is the intent that we're bringing into our lives and into any given choice aligned with love or fear? Fear and the ego that arises from fear. That is the question. And if we simply seek to meet any given moment with love rather than fear, that is the real work. And it doesn't have to be a big, crazy, powerful, complex thing. You don't have to move a mountain. You don't have to, start a company and sell 1,000, whatever. It's nothing. You just need to, not need to, but it's helpful for us to meet any given moment with love rather than fear. You could be by yourself in your bathroom brushing your teeth, okay? And you have a thought arise. How do you respond? Can you bring peace even within yourself to this moment, and even have mercy on yourself, have peace with yourself? The quality with which we meet any given moment is the name of the game.
I love it. Thank you so much for this interview. And Liz, take us away.
So everybody, Christian, will you please say one more time where they can find your book?
Yeah, the book is called A Walk in the Physical. If you go to my website, awalkinthephysical.com, there was a book page. The free copy is a PDF. There's a link, third link down. It's available there. It's also available on Amazon. And I also just finished recording the audiobook for it as well. So it's available on Audible as well.
Is that the best place for people to find you, or do you do the social media thing?
Yeah, if you could, or you can go to my website, awalkinthephysical.com. I try to respond to emails. I've been getting a lot lately, so I apologize if I'm delayed, but awalkinthephysical@gmail.com is my email address. I apologize if I can't respond, but I do try. So yeah, that's probably the best way to reach out. And I do try to post my talks on the website as well, if there's any interest there.
And you did say you have a YouTube channel?
Actually, I do not have a YouTube
you
channel,
don't?
at least not yet. No, I'm on many other people's channels, and I've kind of collected those videos onto my personal channel, but I haven't created any videos myself.
Okay, good. So if they look up Christian Sundberg on YouTube, they'll find more interviews like this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again so much, Christian. It was lovely getting to speak with you today. And everybody out there in UK Health Radio land, we will see you again next week. Bye, Bill. Thanks so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks for being here with us on the New Life Perspective radio show. For more information or to find out more about the work that Bill and I do, please visit us at cognomovement.com or email us at info@cognomovement.com. See you again soon.